And now we begin in Kenya, where millions of mobile phone subscribers risk mass switch off as the deadline for the Communication Authority to register their SIM cards draws to a close next week. Official data shows that some 15 million mobile subscribers had not registered their SIM cards by August 30th, several weeks before the October 15 deadline to do so. According to CA, Kenya's SIM subscription stands at 64.67 million.
In April, CA extended the deadline for SIM card registration by 6 months to allow millions of users to comply with this directive that seeks to weed out fraudsters and other criminals from subscriber databases held by the telcos. Let's now bring in governance and policy analyst Abdullahi Alas, who joins us live from Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning, Abdullahi, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now let's talk about the whooping number of Kenyans that risk being switched off. First of all, why have they not yet registered? Are there any peculiar challenges, or is it just a nonchalance on the part of the people? What are some of the reasons that you've heard that they've not yet registered?
Well, first of all, the communication authority in this country, the people who are connected into different service providers, the Safaricom, Airtel, and Telecom. So the people who are not, who have not registered, are mainly either in the suburbs of big cities or in the countryside, and the communication authority itself did not do what you call sensitization and preparation of the minds of Kenyans. They just came up with a circular in April this year that they are going to disconnect. If people do not register, then there were long queues in the country where people had to register. There are those who are fortunate enough to know how to register on their mobiles because they provided certain numbers. So I think it was on the communication authority side that they did not give people enough time. And Kenya has just gone into election, and they said 30th of August was the first deadline, then they extended to October 15th, which is this month. So I think by and large it is lack of quite sensitization from the communication authority of this country, and give people ample time to register. Otherwise, most people have registered. As you said rightfully, there are 64.47 registered subscribers alone. The telcos in the country, Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom. Telcom is the least registered, then there is Airtel. Safaricom as the highest, with over 42.53 million people. So I think even if we might even see a scenario where Communication Authority of Kenya might extend again to maybe 2-3 months to allow people to register. Otherwise, it is a way of making sure that the right people have registered with the lines they're using, so that the fraudsters or those who use it for criminals are kept away. We are living in a very digital world. There is, robust. Kenya is a very robust in terms of technological advancement, social media, Twitter, Facebook. So when you register with these numbers, not only we're using it for the M-Pesa and bank subscriptions, you're also using it to register your Facebook accounts. And that's why the government is coming up with, authorities coming up with this mechanism to make sure that the people who are holders of those cards are genuinely the right owners of the card.
Well, is there any other things, that might be linked to this conversation? Because I've also gotten to see some of the responses, on this situation on social media, and there's a couple of people who don't seem to be interested. Some people, I've seen say they can't even wait for their SIM cards to be disconnected. Sometime in Nigeria, about a year or 2 years ago, there was also a conversation about getting SIM cards registered, mostly because of the security situation in Nigeria. So is there something else that might be linked to this conversation, with regards to the importance of getting SIM cards registered? And what is the general attitude of Kenyans towards this?
Well, I think for people to genuinely say they own a SIM card, Kenya has come up with the Data Protection Act in 2019. This was necessitated by fraudsters and criminals using dead people's IDs and defrauding people or use it for criminal activities where if a triangulation of a certain phone number is done to a certain area where a crime has happened, then you realize that the owner of that particular SIM card is registered to someone who has died. So it is very hard even to authenticate and fight criminals using, available data. So there are people who are not trusting. The lack of trust or lack of people not comfortable is brought about by how sometimes the companies or the entities that keep this data are using it either wrongfully or without their permission. In this country, there was an American-based Analytica in 2017 that said they have vested people's data and use it to analyze the pattern of voting without necessarily, involving them or even getting their permission. So right now we have already, just like as you said, Nigerians have data privacy and data protection laws in Nigeria. In Kenya, we call it the Data Protection Act. It was enacted in 2019. The regulations were passed in 2021, 2022. The regulations on, protection, on complaint, and all those. So right now, it is incumbent upon those who keep these data to be very responsible and make sure the data is safe. Remember, the registration, the immigration under the Ministry of Interior, under immigration, our fingerprints have been taken, our eyes have been taken, a lot of biometric information has been taken. So that the concern is, will people use this data without our permission or without even involving us? So that has been taken care of by, there is a law in place right now, there are regulations in place. But I think right now what needs to happen is the Communication Authority and Commission on Data has a commissioner in place.
Right.
There is a commission in place. So there is Communication Authority, there is the Ministry of Transport and Communication. So all the laws are in place, but it is incumbent upon those who keep this data, make sure it's safe. But I think people are not safe given the biometric.
All right. Abdullahi, we have a few more days before we get to October 15th. We look forward to having you again to see what exactly the situation is, and then to analyze what will be the impact of this on the government as well as the citizens should they be disconnected. But for now, thank you very much, Abdullahi Alas, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.